A warm welcome and hello on today's episode on the Golden Muse show, dedicated to holistic health, healing, and mindful, joyous, and prosperous living. I'm ChriSOULa, the Golden Muse. I'm an author, an educator, emotional well-being educator, and amongst other things, I am broadcaster. So here I am, and I'm delighted. I've got with me Ali Wheeler. Hello, Ali. Welcome.
Hello, ChriSOULa. Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you here, Ali. And both of us, myself and Ali, were very much passionate about well-being. And a few years ago, when I actually started my business, back then it was called Explorama, I did find out about the 5 ways to well-being, and I was actually launching, the lots of different opportunities for people to come and connect under the umbrella of the 5 ways to well-being. And Ali is actually using that in her own business, but in a more specific way. So Ali is very much passionate about helping people in the workplace. And amongst other things, of course, but we're going to concentrate on that area first, and then we'll see how we go, right? So Ali, give us a little bit about your background, because you were involved with, the actual, as an assessor about well-being as part of your previous professional experience. Mm-hmm. So tell us a bit more about that and what brought you to create your business now. It's called Feel Good.
Feel Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you. So what's my background? I spent the first 22 years of my career in the police service. I was a police officer for 22 years. And I suppose back then when I was in the police service, I was always searching for well-being opportunities to help people. I just didn't realise then that that's what I was looking for. So I was always a huge advocate for prevention of lots of the challenges that we were facing in the police service around mental health, around domestic violence, around alcohol and drug misuse. And I was always on the search for solutions. Now, in hindsight, it's a great thing, isn't it? Now I realise that actually, and that's where my passion for helping people, individuals and workplaces, I realise that if people live healthy and happy lives, and as you know, I'm a huge advocate for 5 ways to wellbeing, live their life through the concept of the 5 ways to wellbeing, then that would actually go a long way to solving a lot of the personal and professional community challenges that we face. During my career in the police service, I was seconded out of the service for 7, nearly 8 years to head up an alcohol harm reduction programme. And it was at that time, this was 10 years ago now, that I got to explore and really understand the wider wellbeing issues across society. I worked with the NHS on a leadership programme which introduced me to mindset and behaviour change around people and communities. And I started to work on obesity programmes, physical inactivity, tackling lots of the lifestyle issues that really do undermine some of the happiness that people feel. And that's where my passion, that's where I had the light bulb moment that actually I really wanted to work even more on prevention rather than just, a lot of the time fixing the problems. Yes. And then, and so for 10 years, I've been working through my own business. The first one was Good Squared and now Feel Good, working with communities and organisations on workplace wellbeing, transformational change in organisational structures, and behavioural change with individuals and communities around their wellbeing. So I use the 5 ways to wellbeing to underpin all the work that I do.
Fabulous. So basically now we need to move on to explaining, if you haven't heard of what the 5 ways will well-be involved, so actually we can take them through one by one, so you can see how we can relate to your own personal or professional circumstances. Yeah. How you can improve your well-being by just increasing the dose a little bit. Yes. So if we start with the number 1, which one would you choose, Ali, first?
So my number 1 well-being, 5 ways well-being, and my favourite is take notice.
Yes.
It really is. I suppose it can be reframed in many, many different ways in terms of being mindfulness. There's obviously a lot of different ways of reframing well-being. But I've reframed the 5 ways to well-being as the 5 ways to feel good, because I feel as though it helps us have a very positive conversation around it. But take notice, really stopping and appreciating the world that's around you, pausing for a moment and just looking around us and living in that moment, rather than worrying about the future or ruminating about the past. Really just using all the 5 senses to feel good. So, smell, touch, sight. It's not just about what you see, it's what you feel and what you can sense as well. So take notice, being really observant and really enjoying the moment is my favourite one, first of the 5 ways to well-being.
That makes the whole experience of life more spicy, as I like to call it. It makes it more makes it more interesting, to not just to be like a robot kind of thing and just say I have to do this because that's my daily routine, but it's actually say, okay, let me just press pause for a moment, let me just look around me, let me just take a deep breath and see what's happening around me, and appreciate the little things. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes we are expecting that we have to attract too much or be everywhere, and then. But the most important thing is to be the moment, and mindfulness is important. Walking meditation is another one that I absolutely adore. Walking meditation, even like a power walking in quite a fast pace, you feel like you are sort of even flying when you're walking. I don't know whether you have experienced that. I definitely recommend it. So yes, and then the word that probably you have heard a lot these days, and it's and I like to demystify that about being conscious. It's exactly that. Just be more aware of what's happening around you, and be more in the present moment.
And I think that the challenge for us is, especially in the workplaces, we're so often looking down. Having spent 7 years traveling on the train to work every day, everybody's working so hard. And actually, I used to make a conscious effort just to put my BlackBerry down, that's how long ago it was, or my book down, and just look out of the window, and just the world passes you by so quickly. And yet you can slow. I believe you can slow it down. You can slow time down if you live in, if you are very conscious of that moment. Because my passion is working with very, very busy people to help them find time to feel good. And the biggest thing that people say to me is, I really just don't have the time. And I think that's because they're just living in the next moment rather than living in that exact moment. And it is a challenge.
It could be, it is a challenge. It could be that also they are in the past worrying about what something they should have done or they didn't do and why, and you're beating yourself up, and and this is another thing. Either you're in the past or you're thinking about what's going to be next in the future, and then you're missing the most important thing, being now.
Absolutely. So my second favorite 5 ways to feel good is give. So gratitude, being grateful. Also, I in that area I put self-care. So giving ourselves some time to feel good too. I think that there's a real misunderstanding or stigma around self-care, which actually maybe puts people off talking about it really openly. But why shouldn't we treat ourselves? Why shouldn't we find that time for ourselves to look after ourselves? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole day. It can just be a moment. If that's more than the moment you were going to give yourself, it can just be sitting with a cup of tea and being more appreciative. It could be a facial, it could be rubbing your hands, it can be anything. It's about gratitude. So being really grateful and and giving time.
And be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Kindness, saying hello to people, it's free. When I talk to...
And smile.
Smiling. I think people think that give is all about volunteering and signing yourself up to just, an overwhelming obligation. And actually, it can be just as much as knocking on your neighbour's door, smiling at somebody in the street, or just saying hello. We've just stopped doing it. I think society is just so busy, and when you say hello and smile at someone, you get some people are really shocked and smile and love it, and you really cheer them up in that moment, and that really lifts you as well. And other people are going, are you looking at me? You know, we just have to slow down as well, don't we? And just people like it. I think people really love it when you say hello to them and smile at them. A lot of the time, though, we're just too busy to do it.
Yes, and the other thing I love about giving is giving a hug, a really nice, warm hug, you know. And then, of course, there's a scientific reason behind it, because there are certain hormones that actually activate it, and that makes, you know, the happy hormones, as we call them. So that's why giving a hug and really touching and connecting with somebody else is really important.
And laughter too. So connect. We can talk about that one as the third one. So connecting with not only yourself through self-care, but connecting with others, whether that be families or friends or your community or nature. We know that nature is really good for our health and well-being. It adds such value. Green spaces, blue spaces, just being out in the fresh air, but really connecting with the moment. So it's very close to take notice, but actually it's more than that. It's, for me, it's quite it's a physical connection as well as an emotional connection. So it's really reaching out and connecting yourself with other people, but connecting other people together too, bringing together, you know, lots of different opportunities to people. So connect, I really love. Keep learning. Oh my gosh, keep that grey matter going. How proud are we of ourselves and others when, you know, we learn something new? And I'm a great believer you should learn something new every day. Keeping your mind active is really good for your mental health and well-being. I think about my parents all the time. They're in, you know, the late 70s, early 80s, and they're learning new things all the time. You know, my dad's just been to college, and he was 79 years of age, and that's just brilliant, you know, and why not? And I think if we keep our mind ticking over and we keep refreshing our energy and our opportunities,
our way of seeing life as well, because when we learn, different opportunities are come up to see things from a different perspective as well. So rigidity and stuck in your ways is actually can really stop you from feeling the possibilities out there and seeing something else that could be fantastic for you.
I mean, I've got teenage children, and I hear about what they're learning at school, and I would love to go back to school, and yet when you're going through it, you don't necessarily appreciate it, do you? But it's just learning new opportunities, but also I totally agree with you, refreshing your mindset, and accepting that you can change in our mindset, whether, you know, the kind of the behaviour change is really important too. So I love keep learning. I think we should challenge ourselves, whether that be opening up a cookbook and trying a new recipe, or just, you know, going on the internet and searching out something, or just looking outside and looking at something new that's coming through the ground. It's just
learning is as well, you know, be very, very specific with what you like to learn, because when you learn something and it is joyful, it makes you really happy. But you don't learn because somebody says it's a good idea and you go there and you feel obliged to carry on doing it. You're actually learning because it makes you feel happy, it makes you feel alive, it makes you feel worthy, it makes you feel that you can actually contribute somebody else's life, or just because you like to just have a bit of fun.
Absolutely. And so the last 5 ways is be active. As you know, I think it's probably the most obvious area of well-being that people automatically think of. Being physically active is really, really important, but actually what I think is more important is not being physically inactive. So, you know, there's real evidence around sedentary behaviour, and this is my passion in workplaces, and I can be this person really easily because I work for myself, as I'm sure you can when you're writing. You know, you can sit for far too long, really sedentary, and sedentary behaviour, the sitting disease it's called, is really bad for us. It contributes to coronary heart disease, obesity, some cancers. It's just really, really not good to not be active. And it's quite a challenge. I've just been involved in a 14,000 step a day challenge for people within the workplace and in their own, and it's a real challenge to get those amount of steps in a day. But being active can be anything. So singing is really good for you. It not only does it lift the heart and soul, but it is also really good for your respiratory system, and all those endorphins that come from it. Or anything, playing golf, going for a walk, gardening. My passion is gardening. and cutting the grass.
You like connecting with Mother Earth. There you go.
do.
You see, they're all these 5 ways to well-being. They're not just separate, to each other. They are connecting. There's a, when you say one thing, you cannot just take it on its own. There's always, the connection, the relationship with the other 4.
Yeah. But I think they're all linked, because I think when you're active and you're feeling fit and healthy, then your self-esteem is in a better place, your mental well-being is in a better place, and that allows you to do lots of other things. So lots of people can struggle with connecting with other people because they haven't necessarily got the confidence. But if you're physically active, it kind of connects all the other 5 ways to well-being too. So it's where you get the biggest return on investment for your health and well-being immediately. But I think it leads to the wider connection with all the other, and they're all interconnected. So all equally as important in my mind.
Yes, they're equally important. Of course they are. And the bit about the connecting with others, the way I like to contribute to that a bit more is when you go to various events or celebrations, and this is connecting with hearts and people, like-minded people, and this is the bit that I think for me that's one of the priorities, to be honest with you, Ali. How we as a human beings, we are not sort of relying on technology so much these days, the 21st century, and we keep remembering the importance of physical interaction, and
couldn't agree more.
Bringing people together, whether it's through an event, through a party, or through going out for a walk together. Really find the opportunity to connect with people in real life, and for me that's really important, absolutely important. We cannot replace that with I'm very much favor with Facebook and Twitter, and look at me here, using this online platform to carry on connecting with people and bringing individuals' passions and raising awareness about holistic health and well-being. But at the same time, I love connecting with people. I still organize events. I still bring people together, organize retreats. It's something that you also do, Ali. So my retreats are based in Greece, in my motherland. Your retreats are based around here, right?
That's right. Equally as lovely, I imagine.
But we all need some time to, I call them Greetreats. Treat yourself to Greece.
Very nice. I couldn't agree with you more. I think loneliness and social isolation is something that actually we all need to be very aware of. And yet you can be very lonely in a crowded room. Lots of people talk about that. So that human connection, that reaching out to people, that, when I first met you, I felt as though I knew a lot about you through social media, but you cannot underestimate the power of the eye-to-eye contact, can you? And that kind of touching of the hands and just a smile. And so I think that we need to be really aware as well, when we're in a busy place, of how people are connecting with each other. And I think it's really quite nice sometimes to seek out the quieter people in the room and to connect with them, as well as being the gregarious one and stood at the front. It's getting that balance right, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then that brings us to the next thing that I would like us to discuss on today's episode, because we have all heard about stress in our lives, whether it's in personal and professional, but the one that has caused a lot of issues in the professional environment, in workspace, is stress that can actually cause people to be absent. And this is where you are stepping in, Ali, with your workshops, working in helping how we can bring people back at work, or keeping them at work and keeping them happy, and then they can be creative and productive and communicative and be the best they can, really. That's, for me, that's the most important thing, because we spend a lot of hours in the workspace. Myself, I'm self-employed and I'm working from my own, as you call it here, my sanctuary of color. And then I chose to be in that space. I chose to do that because I've worked in a very pressurizing environment as being a teacher in a secondary school education for many years. And I just thought that, that was not for me anymore. So I am contributing now in a different way, or different ways. So let's see how you are supporting, Ali.
Yeah.
Work, the work, the people working, to bring them back into their sort of connection with themselves and connection with others as well.
Yeah. So my passion for workplace wellbeing, I think, really stems back to when I used to work shifts. As a shift worker, you would feel sleep deprivation.
Yes, very hard.
You'd be quite isolated from your normal life when you are asleep.
Yeah,
Everybody
being
else
sociable.
is
Yeah, being
absolutely, absolutely. And then seeing some of the challenges as an emergency response officer to how people respond to stress and relate to that, all the way through to being part of the workplace wellbeing charter and doing workplace assessments there, and actually really understanding how people behave at work, but also how organisations either support or don't the well-being of their staff. I'm a great believer in if you're healthy at work, you're healthy at home. If you're healthy and happy at home, you're healthy and happy at work. But fundamentally, we spend 60% of our waking hours at work. A huge amount of our time is at work. And whether you're self-employed like myself, who requires real personal discipline, and it really does, to actually say, I need to now stretch, stand up, go for a walk, go and connect with my friends, to a small enterprise, to big businesses. People are the most important and the conduit of workplace wellbeing. And what we know is that, well, what I've seen is many employers will say it's more of a tick box exercise. They'll have a workplace wellbeing charter or strategy, but actually getting that off the page into physical action, actually having an impact, is a real challenge. And the one thing that I know through all my work on behaviour change and organisational change is that unless you co-create workplace wellbeing in the workplace with the organisation, with the staff, then you're just doing to people, or you're just creating something that actually isn't necessarily the right thing. So, and the World Health Organization evidence is really clear about this, that you really need to ask those that are affected by or affecting the changes that you need to make in the workplace around health and well-being to make it the most successful. My ideal workplace wellbeing approach would be to work with an organisation who really wants to invest over time, a year and beyond, in their workplace wellbeing, rather than it just being a quick initiative or a wellbeing day where they bring in lots of different interventions and then everybody goes back to normal the next day. And it's about restructuring an organisation to enable it to achieve what it needs to achieve, but also to support the staff so that they are their most productive, the most attentive, the most creative at work, that organisations retain the best talent, and that they become employers of choice by people. And I believe that this needs to go through generations. I believe that workplace wellbeing needs to start at school. So, as a teacher, you will totally understand this. So, we start with, we look at, in the school environment, in primary school environment, you see that lots of children are doing the Daily Mile. Absolutely brilliant. It has a massive impact on their attendance, attainment and productiveness and happiness at school. And then you go into the high school environment and it's just very much more about education and achievement. And, if we could keep that emphasis on physical activity and well-being in high school and then through to university or apprenticeships, our children and our workforce of the future would expect, if not demand, really good, healthy workplaces. So we're talking about intergenerational change here, but actually this can be driven by workplaces themselves, but also very much from society changing the culture that they are as well. So it's really important, I think, that people understand that the workplace should be a really happy and healthy place, and find the best way to be healthy and happy at work, whether that be through being more physically active and less sedentary, or finding a place to be mindful and take notice of for moments in time, changing the workplace environment. We were talking before about colour, and more light and space. There's so many opportunities, and what I truly believe, it doesn't have to cost a fortune to invest in people.
No, I don't think it needs to be. It needs to be like that. No. I think for me, small and very meaningful steps.
Yeah.
That for me, it's about creating this toolkit with little things that could be easily and joyfully implemented in our everyday life. And whether it's something you can use at work, or you can actually say, well, actually, that's what I use at work. It works really well for me. I will bring it into my life overall. Or that's what I use in my life, in my personal life. Let me see how I can introduce that into my workspace. And then these two things, it's not like you're not a different personality. You are the same person. You are you. You know, you are going to work. You're in your family environment. You're at home. You're functioning the same way. You cannot just switch the persona and say, this is me here at work, this is me here. No. So how can you bring that joy into your everyday life? But if you're not happy at work, what's going to happen? You bring that into your home environment. And if you're not happy at home, you bring that into your work environment. It's very hard to say, these two things, forget about what's happening at work or whatever. Somehow it is eating you from the inside out. So exactly. So what can we do to support people at work? And for me, the emotional well-being is really important, Ali. How we can really be more truthful with ourselves. How you can actually say what's going on inside me, and then do something to help yourself and ask for help. And if, as you said, in your workspace, that there are some opportunities for people that feel safe to open up and feel vulnerable, to say, by the way, I'm not happy with this, or how can we move forward with that in a different way? And then feel free to express themselves, express how they feel. Then I think it's going to change the whole setup.
Yeah, because and what will underpin that is organisational structures and ways of working. So quite often, and I think this is where the stigma of sickness absence has got in the way of actually understanding and working on preventing sickness absence and stress in the workplace, that if the culture of the organisation is one that allows their staff to express, to create and to talk about their challenges, their opportunities, the enablers and barriers to them feeling happy and healthy at work, then these things can be dealt with really, really early. Whereas what happens is that they're all stored up and then it blows up and is a lot bigger than it needs to be. Whereas actually if the culture of an organisation is one of listening, of understanding, of supporting, of doing something about it, then the statistics are really significant. They say 1 in 6 people has stress and anxiety at work. Some statistics say 1 in 4. I think it's probably a lot more than that. It's just that people aren't necessarily saying it. And just because you've got stress and anxiety at work doesn't mean to say you're not capable of working and you're not really good at your job. It might just mean that you're just really unhappy with the situation that's happening. So it could be so different, and people could feel less anxious and less stressed if they are able to challenge and co-create the solutions to stop that happening. And a lot of it will be about, and we've seen this, haven't we? Employers will introduce a wellbeing intervention at work and they'll do it in the staff's lunchtime. Well, that's their lunch hour, rather than finding 15 minutes, half an hour, and saying this is really important for you and you need to have that time. Some employers are really good at it, but it's the minority, not the majority. And again, it's not an intervention that they think is the right thing. So, I've worked in health, and a lot of the times you see people going in and doing workplace massage or workplace yoga. If that's not what you want, then we have to find it, because it works for some people and it's brilliant. But if that's not what you want to improve your health and well-being in the workplace, it might be that it's a training course. It might be that it's just about being given a voice, feeling valued, saying thank you, being given recognition. They are things that are really small, like you said, that, and I think a lot of this is it's about small changes rather than quick initiatives or bringing in and parachuting in responses and knee-jerk reactions. It's got to be an organisational culture change and a mindset shift for staff as well, to be able to say, I can feel good at work, and I should feel good at work. And actually, it is. I think for me, it is a birthright, to be honest with you. It's like when you allocate X number of hours out of your everyday life to
to go and give and create and be contributing in a whatever organization, whatever business this is. Whatever, it could be a social worker, it could be a nurse, or it could be a teacher, or it could be anyone, it could be a technician, doesn't matter who. They are, I see them that they offer so much. Every single one of us brings something, and then we need to value that. We need to value that they are important. And I think that's where the missing point is, that I don't think people are valued enough in the workplace.
The NASA story is a really good example of it, isn't it? So the story that the person who is sweeping the floor is as equally important as the astronaut who is flying the rocket. And they are equally as contributable to putting a person on the moon. And they equally feel as valued and should do. So when you're asked, what are you contributing? You should be really proud of what you do and should feel recognised and feel that you're doing the best job, and that people are seeing you do the best job, and that you're getting equally as much enjoyment out of it as somebody else. And I'm really passionate that is the case. I just think that this is quite there's a lot of white noise around workplace wellbeing, and I think that we have to work really hard to cut through that and really understand what does it actually mean, and ultimately what does it come down to. And it's a mindset and a behaviour of our workforce, of people in the way that they work, being able to challenge, have that confidence, being empowered, feeling appreciated to do whatever they need to do. And it's really important that our organisational systems and structures support that. So if somebody needs to go off for 15 minutes and do something, the systems and structures around that person's work should be able to support that. And I've worked in the emergency services. You've been a teacher. You can't just walk out of a classroom and leave 30 students. A neonatal nurse can't just walk away from a crib from a baby. I understand that, but then there are other ways that you can have your well-being nurtured and supported in the workplace than it just being about these challenges that people throw up all the time. And it's by working with the staff and really understanding when those opportunities are for them to have really good health and well-being at work, and finding those opportunities is what we need to do. But that's so, and that's what I do. That's what I do. I go and work with workplaces and their staff and say, how do you want to feel good at work, and how does that happen for you, for both parties, so that everybody's happy.
Absolutely, because it's I also like to bring in our conversation here, Ali, that I don't see only the people who are on top, the managers, or the people who are the owners, or the CEOs. I don't feel that it's only their responsibility to do something about it. I also feel there's a responsibility of every single one of you to take care of yourself and say, what's going on with my life? Where do I want to be? Who am I? How can I move forward? Because if you don't take responsibility for your own self, there may be a solution. But if you don't go and say, look, I really need to change things, how can I make it happen? Without putting these blockage that actually, it will never happen. They will never listen to me. And then bring the negativity in. How about from a positive perspective, positive way, say, well, actually, I'm sure there must be another way to go about this. And do something from your point of view, how you can instigate something, initiate something, rather than waiting that somebody else will come to your rescue, or somebody else will say, oh, by the way, yes, I appreciate that you are not feeling well, and then I could do something about it. People may not be able to see that.
No. I couldn't agree more. And I think one thing that I would say to employers is that they should feel empowered to say to their staff, how are you helping yourself outside of work to feel good, to ensure that you are the fittest and healthiest and happiest when you come to work, and how can I help you with that? Or is there something that we're doing that is hindering that? But actually it is our responsibility to turn up at work the healthiest and happiest we can be, because if we're not, I've worked with, I have sadly worked with some people with real challenges, and that has a massive impact on everybody else around them. And yet if somebody walks into the office and they're bright and breezy and they're really happy and lovely, there is this lift, isn't there? It's like it's like seeing the daffodils coming through at the moment they kind of peep out through the ground and say, we're here, and it's just lovely.
It is rejuvenating, absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It is. So we have a personal responsibility ourselves. I would never, ever advocate that it's the employer's responsibility alone. It has to be a two-way process.
It is about collaborating. It's about communicating. It's about connecting and co-creating, because it is important. It is very important. And I think this and consistency is another word that I always bring into my conversations with all of you wonderful guests on the Golden Muse show, because whatever, as you said, Ali, it could be, oh, let's bring that in for a day, fabulous well-being day, and then back to square where we were before. It's actually hard to bring that in a consistent sort of clear way that everybody involved can work together, and that's really, really important as well, because there may be the intention there, but okay, you may make a start, but how can you actually put it into place and sustain it?
Yeah. Absolutely. And the evidence is really clear that there are three clear pathways for that. So you change the systems and structures, but you also change mindsets, and that's where sustainable change comes from. And there's how many lifestyle programs have we seen where people have been overpromised something and they've changed their behaviour, and then it's not happened because the structures of an organisation or a public program hasn't been underpinning that, or we change all the systems and processes and people are resistant to that change because they haven't co-created it. They hadn't been involved in those changes themselves. So it's absolutely about co-creation. And you know what? If we treat ourselves as experts, if we ask people what they really want and they have an informed view, they really know what they want, everybody's an expert in their own well-being. It's just that they just need it to be nurtured and understand it and help really.
And inspired as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then inspired to say, okay, come on, and see somebody, they do it and we see the changes in themselves, and say, okay, that's a fantastic role model. Come on, let's bring that into your everyday life as well. Really.
And what's important is also one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
So, just because one person would love yoga at work, which is brilliant, somebody else might want to go and do some reading.
It's about respecting everybody's, personal life choices as well, and personal, sort of personalities. People learn or interact in different ways as well. Yeah. Fabulous. Wonderful conversation with you, Ali Wheeler. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's lovely to talk to you about it.
Hey, did you enjoy yourself as well?
Oh, I did. And we could carry on all day, I'm sure.
I know we can. I'm sure there will be another opportunity to bring you back and talk about other things, maybe being even more specific in how, we can see the change between the structure, the systems and the people, how we can bring them more and work in harmony. For me, it's harmonizing these two areas. So Ali, at this point, I'd also like to share with you all, my dear viewers and life explorers, that Ali is going to be featuring in the book of Soulful Musings, which is actually a series of books. I'm delighted to share that because there's a number of you that said yes to the calling, to being part in the book. And actually there's room to create another book, and then you never know what's the space. So the first one, the pre-launch is happening on the 19th of April, and then the launch is going to happen early summer 2018. And of course, the book 2, I don't want to talk about that yet, but I like to concentrate on book 1, which is going to be all about holistic health and healing for a mindful, joyous, and prosperous living. And of course, the conversation with Ali fits in perfectly in book 1. So thank you, Ali. And I don't mean to forget to include at this point your website address. So for you that like to connect with Ali to find out more about it.
Okay, do you want me to say it? So it's www.feelgoodco.org.uk.
Brilliant. Okay, so, and if you'd like to know more about the book of Soulful Musings, I will include the website address in the description of this the video on YouTube channel where it's going to be uploaded, and it is ChriSOULa.com/soulful-musings. There you are. Beautiful. Okay, so lots of love from me, and remember to look after yourself, and whatever you do, just be be easy with yourself. That's my wish to you.